Hello and welcome to the Property Lifestyle Mastery podcast. I am Jackie Tomes, and on this show we're talking about all the different aspects that you've got to get covered in how you invest in property to make sure that you ultimately create that financial freedom for yourself. So not just another job, but genuine cash flow and genuine freedom and genuine fun along the way as well. So on this week's episode, you are joined by Dom and Dave and talking about how to turn the things that don't go to plan along the way into stepping stones that ultimately do lead you in the direction that you want to go and are for your greatest overall good. So we're talking about what your beliefs are and where they might be quietly holding you back along the way, and the difference between perspective and perception as well, which is just such a powerful thing to understand. So here is Dom and Dave turning disasters into stepping stones.
Hello, Dave.
Hello, Dom.
And hello to the audience. So today's topic is the power of perspective. So, Dave, hang on. What is perspective? And does it vary from the word perception? Is there a difference? I'd love to know your thoughts on, sort of giving us an overview of this topic.
Look, I think perspective is possibly the most powerful thing we have at our disposal as a human being. I think it frames our entire existence on this planet. I've got a long way with this one. I've really pushed. And I really believe that. And I think the concept of perspective is so undervalued and underrated that it's the point at which people just completely become blind to the reality around them, right? So for me, perspective is different for every single person. It's the way we're looking at the world, right? We all know that. It's the way we're looking at the world. But yes, what people don't realize is that way they're looking at things is affecting everything. That's the starting point of every other action you take thereafter. And the worst thing about perspective is that it's this insidious nature that people just do not realize that what they think is the truth or what they think is reality is not true, is not real. And so they have these fundamental foundational blocks they've built the world on in their mind, and everything has to revolve around them. You've set these certain moral codes, what's good and bad, what's right and wrong, how things should be, how they shouldn't be, whether something that's good for you, whether something is bad for you. And all of these foundational blocks we've built are guiding us, are repelling us and making us want to do something or not want to do something, and make us feel good about something or not good about it. Good about someone. Is someone a nice person to work with or not a person to work with? All of these things, all of those decisions are coming from our perspective of them and the world and what's happening to us. And that fundamental perspective that each of us have is completely flawed. It's a fake reality, and the Hindus have got it spot on, and the yogis that they're basically it's an illusion. Reality is an illusion. They call it Maya. The world is an illusion, and they said our perspective on the world basically it's like our own illusion that we're buying into is called Abhidharma, and it's just a fundamental core part of their belief system. And so how we view things is literally the starting point of success or failure. It's the starting point of happiness or sadness. I have this amazing video. Sorry to rant, Dom. You literally set me up on one here. This awesome video that I love that I show at workshops and things with clients. And it was one thing that hit home so powerfully with me. It was a Great British Bake Off. One of the episodes, and it was the judging at the end. And they got rid of 2 people in this judging. It was a rare one. I love a Great British Bake Off, and they got rid of 2. I wanted to say fired 2, but that's The Apprentice. No, they got rid of 2 people, and it was such an amazing viewpoint on how people create their own happiness or not, as the case may be. Yes. And you saw person number 1 had obviously had this perspective on what they were doing there, and to her this was life itself. And you saw the moment that her world was shattered, her face just dropped, tears were coming, your whole body contracted. It was literally like someone had just shot her mother. That's how the emotion was flowing out of her. You just felt so bad for her. Everyone's, cuddling her as they do on the Great British Bake Off. They're so lovely to each other. And she's there just breaking down. It's a full breakdown moment. And then they get onto the other person who they let go in this episode. I can't remember what they call it, so they're not going to continue in the process. And it was a guy who just, the first moment his name was heard, he smiled. He just smiled. And you saw this tension release in him. Shoulders go down. It was like a release of weight. And he just smiled. And he went, I thought it was going to be me. And from this, both people have just gone through exactly the same experience. Exactly. Not an ounce of difference in every way. And yet one of them, their world has ended. And one of them is actually happy. And you could tell it and everything. And obviously there's disappointment. But come on, like the difference between his emotion at that moment was miles away. And that was their perspective on what they're living, what they're doing. Okay, so I've ranted enough there, Dom. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I was going to ask you to bring it alive with an example, which you did beautifully there. So thank you very much for that. But so a really important point that you brought up, though, is that everything is an illusion. So if everything is illusion, how do we get closer to reality? if that's even possible? Because surely if we are closer to reality, then we can make better choices, maybe. And if we can make better choices, we tend to live a better life. So is there any can we get closer to the truth? That is
yes. I think I have an answer for that as well, Dom. So fundamentally our truth is based on our belief system. So fundamentally our truth of the world comes from what we're trained into and what's instilled into us from the youth, the moment we exit the womb and we exit enter into this world and we become a little human being and we start to experience. The moment we start to experience, we start to emote, we start to respond. Every single emotion creates some sort of wiring internally, some sort of learning from a neurological level, a learning as to how the world is and how it makes us feel. So we're going through this continual learning process, and we all know this. That's where you're learning everything from a young age, especially from the age of 0 to 10, is basically subconscious, subliminal belief systems being formed. And that's the point, of course, at which when your parents are saying, big boys don't cry, or women should do this, or whatever it is, your belief systems get instilled as to what's right and wrong, what you should and shouldn't do, very strongly on a fundamental wiring level. And it's that creates the feeling, and that's the key, right? Because if you're looking around and you see something happen or you see anything, there's always an associated feeling, and that feeling, that is it. That's our belief system around reality right there. We look at something, we think it looks good. We look over and we see that someone's just killed someone else. There's a very powerful feeling, and we know deep down that is very bad, and that should, it's a very bad thing that's happened. And similarly, you have that same thing with all sorts of things, just at differing levels. And that's it. That's our reality right there. Whether something's good or bad, whether you can do something or can't do something, done. And so the first job, from my humble opinion, is to learn that those feelings are not reality. When you look at something and you think it's good or bad, you think it's something that's going to help you or not, you think it's a nice thing or a happy thing, it's learning that is not real. It's just your choice, your perspective, it's how you've been trained internally. And this brings up a really important point, because now we enter the difference between perspective and perception. Because what I'm about to say is what I just brought up was the concept that you can choose, right? You can choose. So everything in reality it's just a choice of how you're looking at it. Well, then someone could turn around and say, well, no, it's not a freaking choice. Like that's, if something happens and I feel bad about it, that's not a choice. I feel bad, right? It's awful. Like I'm not choosing how I feel. How you make me feel is not a choice. I just feel it. And
Yes.
the truth is that is because on a fundamental level, your belief system is designing and choosing how you respond for you. And that is your
Mm.
perception of the world. Your perception is the belief system. Now, we all know that thing where you can start to take a higher perspective, a higher zoom out, reframe something, you look at it from a new angle, and you look at it and go, oh, well, you could see it like that. Or you see a dispute between two people, I can see it from both sides, I can see
Mm.
both
Mm.
opinions here. But the question is, which one do you believe? Which one is actually your opinion? That
Yes.
when you think which one you would go with, that's the feeling, right? So
Right.
whilst you can shift your perspective and see it from two sides, you're actually your choice of what you then live is your
Yes.
perception of the world because that's your belief system. I have a little metaphor I have for or an analogy for how to make sense of this. I say if you take a pair of red glasses, red
Mm-hmm.
lenses in them, and you put them on, and then suddenly those glasses make everything look red, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll take an example: grass, right? Grass is now red because you're looking through red lenses. You've shifted your perspective, but deep down, you know that grass is not red. It's green, right? Because you spend your whole life knowing that grass is green. Just putting the glasses on has not made you believe that grass is green, but you can see it has red
Yes.
glass. Oh, grass looks really interesting red, but it's green. Now, the point at which you've shifted your perspective, but you haven't shifted your perception. The
Right.
point at which you make true change is when you can get that red lens so installed on your face that you don't know it's there anymore. And now you do truly believe that grass is in fact red. And that
Ooh.
is the shift of perception. That moment
Right.
you forget that the lenses are on, you don't know they're there anymore, and the world now looks different to you, and you're like, no, grass is red. Can't you see
Yes.
grass is red? That your belief has changed. And that's
Yes.
our job, because in order to find the true, truth of what's going on, and in a way that's helpful to us, we need to remove all of those perspectives. We need to start choosing what we want to see,
Mm.
choosing our own reality, and that's manifestation. Okay, so
Yes.
I'm sorry, I've gone quite a
Yeah.
route of randomness here, but it's yeah. That for me, this is it. This is the fundamental of change, of shifting your life, and of having happiness, of achieving success. It all stems back to these
It
concepts.
comes back to changing your perception and getting and creating new perspectives. Okay, it makes me think of the lovely quote by Marcel Proust, who said, "The real voyage of discovery consists not in seeking new landscapes, but in having new eyes." Because it's as you say, the same things are happening to people. It's just their perception and perspective that makes it what it is for them, the feeling that
Yeah,
they then experience. I guess so. So what creates reality for us is our feelings. We can
mm,
analyze things, but actually, it only becomes real when it becomes felt, because the felt is the chemicals which cause a feeling, which actually is gone from electrical impulses in the brain to actual physical. There's a there's chemicals going on in the body now, and
yeah,
actually, that's gone from energetic potential into sort of physical reality for us.
yeah,
So, okay. Um, I guess how do we make this practical for the listeners to go,
yeah.
okay, look, here's some useful lessons or things that we do in order to help us get different perspectives on a situation so that we can change our perception of what is happening. Maybe going from a victim mentality, oh my God, I've just lost, £20,000 in this auction deal that fell flat, versus someone who goes, actually, thank God that happened, that was a good thing. How do we change our perspective or perception,
Yeah.
depending on which one?
Well, there's obviously so many tools, and I'm sure you've got lots that you can call upon, that you can talk about. I mean, the step number one for me is the reason I spent the first part of this chat talking about the fundamentals is because job number one is to realize that what you think isn't real, right? Because if you can do that, you're breaking your own bonds, you're breaking your own shackles. Once you break the shackles that are holding you in your current belief system, your current
Mm,
perspective, you're able to become flexible, and you're able to see things and feel things in a different way. And
yes.
for me, that breaking of that reality was a matter of reading all the right books, realizing that, wow, Newtonian science that I was taught when I was young and that I believed the cause and effect of Newtonian science was how the whole world works and that everything was ruled by this, was actually complete tosh when you start looking at quantum physics. That was a very left brain scientific way of breaking it. But in truth, what it did was start to undermine my entire understanding of what I was even looking at. The table around me, the fact that on a fundamental level, I'm feeling this table with my hands, but I'm not actually feeling anything. That's just two magnetic fields interacting, and that underneath it all, on a quantum level, that is literally empty space, mostly 99.999% empty space that I'm looking at there. But somehow I see an object. These kind of concepts are what start to shift me massively, because I start to say, if my fundamentals of what I'm standing on and looking around and seeing are not real, then what else isn't real? So that was a big one for me. And I think reading those books and breaking your belief systems around just normal stuff is a fantastic starting place, because then when you start to realize something's happened to you in your property business, it doesn't feel so like you can easily see it from a different angle and feel it from a different angle when you try to work out what is this table really in reality. This thing I'm eating my food out of, you know.
So in summary, one of the things is to educate yourself, to get different perspectives possibly from ancient wisdom and also new science, understanding how the world works, to understand that just because you believe something doesn't mean it's true. In fact, actually, the more fixed you become on one single belief being true, actually, the more it's like a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. And actually, what you need to do is choosing to have a growth mindset.
A growth mindset, and the more stuck you are in your current state, right, the current place you are in the world, we're all here trying to grow. And maybe that, if you could elaborate a bit more actually about growth itself, because for me, growth is the whole point of being here. Full stop. Right? Evolution, change. This is it.
Oh, this is a lot of deep philosophy here. So yeah, I think you're right. So growth is absolutely our fundamental reason for being on the planet, but most people are still stuck in the fear mode of wanting to stay safe and have security and have certainty, and so they choose a belief. And they stay that is, they stay fixed with that belief, going, no, this is the way it is. This is, there aren't any other ways. This is what's going to keep me feeling safe if I have this belief. So they don't look for other answers, which is why people, often they'll find echo chambers where their belief about the world being flat, and they'll find 300,000 other people who also believe that the world is flat, even though the rest of the world doesn't believe it. But you find more of the things that you seek. We're all guilty of that, by the way. The books I read obviously are going to be in line with my values around, exploring more around quantum physics and all sorts of things like that I find really interesting to learn about. But perhaps I wouldn't learn quite so much about I don't know, a small little religion that no one's heard of. That wouldn't be so interesting to me. But I might be missing out on something there. If I was open to it, if I had more of a growth mindset, perhaps. Anyway, I guess there's discernment about what we should be learning too. But anyway, so yeah, growth mindset, fixed mindset, learning is to our point is a really important one. I think another really important one, which I've really, obviously we live in the world of, which is to say having a trusted advisor and or mentor or coach or being part of a mastermind where you're with other people who also have a growth mindset, who also want to learn and understand that they cannot see themselves. They cannot see their own limitations, and therefore they need to and want to learn from other people and get other people's perspectives on what it is that they're up to, particularly usually in business, but also in possibly, relationships and their life generally, in order to spot things they hadn't seen and get a different perspective, which can help them to unlock new levels of awareness, new levels of potential, new levels of leadership within themselves that makes life more exciting and allows them to grow. So yeah, any thoughts on, you guys have had a mentor for a long time.
Yeah, I think there's two aspects here that you brought up, which I think are fun. They've got to work in conjunction, and I've seen this over and over again. If you just have, for example, the one mentor, one person who you go to. They become your guru, right? Your one guru becomes the one person you listen to. And the problem with this is you are now just buying into someone else's potentially limited belief system. And they might not actually have a fixed belief system. They might be the type of person who has quite an open belief system. But unfortunately, generally as a mentor, someone who's guiding others, you generally have to give across a very clear, a example of what you want, and you have to give clear beliefs to the other people to try and help them and get them involved. It doesn't mean they might not be fixed, but they might just be talking in a fixed way just to try and help everyone get results. But the problem is now what you've done is you've taken your fixed mindset and you've broken it and then just created a new one. Okay, but that's great because it could be a new, more open one. It could be one that's more flexible than you were. But then on the other side of the coin, I think you've got the community aspect, the lots of people. And the nice thing about lots of people is you are open to seeing so many different perspectives. Now, the more diverse those perspectives, the more you listen to them, the more it undermines your entire belief system, which, as I kind of said earlier, could be a good thing. But if it gets too much, you start to not know what to believe. You start to not know what to choose, and it creates a stalling action in itself. It holds you back because without some sort of solid belief system, it's very hard to take action. Because if you're standing on shifting sands, you don't feel comfortable moving any which way, right? It's all feeling uncertain. It's all feeling unsteady. So if you're surrounded by people with lots and lots of different opinions and perspectives, it actually creates a negative effect potentially on you, even though it can open you up to other ideas. So the ideal balance point, and everything in life is a balance point, is to find yourself in an environment where you've chosen a type of a way of being that is being brought into by those people. They all kind of have a certain way around them that you really want, you buy into. And you want that kind of way of being, that state of being, that they seem more happy, or they seem more driven, or they seem more whatever it is that you're looking at them going, they seem really cool as a group, generally as a collective. So they're definitely going to have something in common between them all. And hopefully, maybe in that case, guided by one or two people to give some solidity to it. But you get to a position where you can listen to lots, but it's not too diverse, and potentially has a leader that can help everyone to stay in one course generally. And that, I think, that really helps to keep you, because the worst thing is you go and listen to too many opinions, go and get too many ideas, and then you never do anything with it because actually it's too much and it's very hard to make any decisions. You need to have some structure to your belief system to feel confident and comfortable to move ahead. But then you also, at the same time, need to be open to any belief system and go and realize that you could be wrong. So you've got to be open to believing that at any moment. I'm doing this now. This is my current belief system. I think this is a really good way to be. But actually, I'm open to anyone's ideas about a different way or a better way of doing it. I've got open ears, and then you're in a magical place because you can take so much action, but you don't get stuck. And that's, I think, the magic to evolution. Because when you do that, you keep tweaking things, you keep adjusting things, you keep slotting on new ideas, and you slowly evolve into this much more, I think, powerful being, someone who's able to make much more impact in the world because you're morphing into the thing that can be powerful. You're morphing into the version of you that can actually have impact and achieve the results you want. It all sounds very, big. I'm talking about the version of you morphing. But the truth is, it's just about being open and flexible and becoming the best version of yourself that can actually achieve the goals you want. It's very practical on a fundamental, on an action taking level. It's very practical, but it stems from the mind and your belief system.
Yes. So it's finding balance between having certainty and clarity of direction, but also at the same time being open and allowing variety in one's life in order to get different perspectives. And those are two fundamental human needs, by the way, certainty and variety. We need both of those in order to be balanced. We have too much certainty, it gets boring. We have too much variety, we have no certainty, and we don't know which way to go. So that's very powerful. That's a good insight. Okay, so we talked about mentorship. And you just alluded onto that about having the balance. You said there was another one, or was that both?
No, those were the two. I was saying those are the two things that have to be balanced. But no, I was thinking. I think that community, listening to others, that's the next level up from learning from books and things. But then I think beyond that, there's I think there is a fundamental for me that really helps me grow in business and life, which is the silver lining concept, which is or going further than that, actually. It's not just, I started with the silver lining concept where there's a silver lining to every cloud. And I went to the level that's way further, which is to believe that every storm cloud is actually like the best thing, that is exactly what I need right there. I'm dying of thirst, and that storm cloud is coming to save me, basically.
Right.
Shifting every negative that you're experiencing onto its head and saying, how is this serving me?
Yes.
How is this
the
best thing
question
that could be happening to me? And that's it, right? So questioning the right questions at the right time and getting yourself into that frame, I think, is a massive tool, and particularly around negative things, and turning them on their head to like, well, how is this actually the best thing that could have happened to me right now? I may not know it, but in what way is it, right? I may not realize it until I look back in the future, but I got to believe that it probably is. So how is this thing serving me? That's one of my key questions.
That is, it's such a, like, one of the, probably the most powerful thing I've learned is that, because we get so fixated thinking, oh my god, this is awful, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. But actually, by asking that question, so asking questions generally, but flipping it on its head, so going, how is this the best thing that's happened to me? Or what are the benefits here? Because there are equal and opposite benefits. And I think it was Dale Carnegie who had one of those quotes saying, everything is happening effectively for you to help you learn and grow. So what are the equal and opposite benefits to this kind of perceived negative situation? And that's really hard, if we look at extremes, whether it's war or trauma from abuse or things like that. There's some really awful things out there that is culturally obviously really, really bad. And in the moment, it can be incredibly difficult to flip it on its head and go that there is no benefit here. So and so has died or is dying, or someone is traumatized from whatever happened to them. In the moment, it's quite difficult. But with time, because they say time is a great healer, it is a huge benefit in order to turn that around and go, okay, how has this helped me? And some of the things that spring to mind is that some of the best counselors, psychotherapists, people who help others through difficult times have themselves been through some of the worst situations too. And therein lies their gift, is that if they hadn't also been through something equally, if not worse, themselves, and come out the other side and created actually a business and a life off the back of it, they wouldn't be helping those people who are currently in that situation. So there is always a gift. It's just not always seen straight away. And I guess for anyone who's going through a difficult time at this moment is just kind of going, don't worry, it will get better. And in fact, the more you ask yourself intelligent questions about how could this be better, how could this be benefiting me, the easier it will be to live with the situation of what is happening. Because chances are it could always be worse. Of course, it could be better, but it could always be worse. It's not as if you're, I don't know, in the moment being tortured or something like that. We're pretty lucky in many ways.
I mean, you've hit the nail on the head here, right? When you start to look at your life in comparison to what it could be like, especially when you start thinking about even going back in time to the Middle Ages, or to like when there were peasants and living with nothing, and you're like, oh my god, how can I complain about a thing here? It's ridiculous. I'm a little bit stressed about not quite having enough money to buy that luxury thing. It's just like, or even just the point of saying I'm stressed because I'm about to lose this property and potentially go bankrupt, but I could be being tortured. Like there is always a different perspective that puts it in a different whole level. Where you're like, oh come on, I'm going to come through this bankruptcy, it'll be fine. Like it's I'll get the other side. I'm still alive. I'm still healthy. I'm still happy. Like I can still be happy. But I think one of the things you've hit for me here is this feeling of the fundamental perspective. We're at a point here where we're talking about all the worst things that we believe can happen to humans. And the truth is that we have hit yet another fundamental belief system that is instilled into us, not just from a young age by everyone around us and how they interact and how they act, but also just by being human itself. because being human means you have animal instincts to survive, and those animal instincts are always there in us, and they're designed to help us to live. And those instincts, when you look at it from a perspective of the body versus the mind and what's going on, we have an animal body that wants to survive, that is doing everything it can to make you scared of things that might hurt you. And then the mind is there listening to that body and coming up with reasons and thoughts and things that say, well, this is bad because of this and this is bad because of that. But really it's coming back to the human physical animal body that we all inhabit. And that is, again, fundamentally a belief system that we all buy into generally until, for example, you go and look at some of the biggest religious cultures or spiritual cultures, and you start looking at people who have decided to shift their belief system even further and say, oh, great, reincarnation exists. Actually, if reincarnation exists, why is that happening? And then you start to read maybe books, going back to our first most powerful tool, read the books. You start reading books maybe by Michael Newton, which is all about a past life regression and like what does that mean and what's happening between lives. And you start to read other books that are talking about reincarnation and why we're here on this planet. And that can create an entire shift in your belief system where it says, oh my God, it's not even about the here and now. It's nothing to do with the fact that this person's just died here. And in fact, that death of that body means nothing. It means nothing. It actually, the other way around, going back to my silver lining methodology, that death of that person could have been exactly what they needed as a soul to be able to evolve to their next level on the reincarnation chain, whatever it is that has a meaning and reason for. So you don't have to believe and buy into this stuff, you know, if you don't want to. But let me tell you, when I started reading and thinking and considering and opening my belief system to incorporate these ideas, my God, my life got better. Because suddenly, instead of sitting here and going, heavy world, there's no way out of really, when it comes to torture and death, there is actually nothing good about it. I can't see anything good like you just described. I have opened that box. I am out there going, I can still see a potential silver lining and I can still shift my belief system to feel okay with that. And oh my God, it makes such a difference, because talking about the power of perspective, when you're in that negative state and you're experiencing the world in a way that feels bad, it dampens everything. It makes you unhappy. It makes you feel unfulfilled. It makes you feel unsatisfied. It pulls back your abilities, full stop, like the ability to get into a flow state, to be able to get into a state where you're able to achieve lots and get loads done, is all dampened by those feelings, those negative feelings, the feeling that the world is against you, the feeling that something's going really wrong and you're feeling really stressed. It's literally like it's taking your superpower away as a human being. We have this superpower that we can access as a human being. That's what the most successful people have managed to access. You wonder, why is so-and-so so successful? Why is Elon Musk so good? Why is they access their superpower. They just got past their human selves. They got into flow states on the things they were super passionate about, and they just went with the flow, and they just evolved into this incredible being that can do anything they want. That's how they did it. We all have the power, but every time we buy into a belief system that makes us feel negative and bad, we are literally taking away that power. We're holding ourselves down in a state that has got less. And I'm not just saying this from a feel good positive thinking factor. I'm thinking scientifically. Go and read books. Who is it? Stephen Kotler. Go and read Stephen Kotler's books about flow state and what the human is capable of. And you start to see that, oh my God, whenever I'm feeling negative, I'm suddenly losing out on all this brain power that could be doing magical things, all these ability to connect new ideas, right? Just, again, another belief system shift. It's like, I actually want to be in a positive state, and I can choose to be that through my belief system, which will allow me to achieve more. Hey presto, I will be able to get the results I want in life. That's the power of perspective.
Ooh, oh, wow, this is deep. Okay, so just in summary, we've had questioning, if we question ourselves and flip it on its head in particular. And when there's another one there, I mean, questions are amazing because there's so many different questions you could ask yourself, including, will this matter in 5 minutes? Will it matter in 10 minutes, in 10 days, next year, next month, whatever it might be? Time is a good one to get perspective with. So questions is good. Being part of a mastermind mentorship program, coach, someone to other people to speak to. And you have to remind me the first one that we talked about. It would it just. Well, you tell what was it? What was the first one?
The first, I would think, was the reading books. The reading books, opening
That's
up
right.
your belief
Education,
system,
education,
realizing
That's it.
realizing
Thank
that
you.
you are
Yes,
not real.
yes.
That
That's right. And then the last one you said is about sort of almost tapping into the superconscious. So are there any methods that would be useful for the audience to listen to or hear from you about how to tap into the superconscious mind, if that's such a thing that we can do?
epic. Oh my god, yeah, it totally is. And I think this is where the real, like, you're taking it way beyond the kind of basics of what we can, making life feel a bit happier, which I think is the fundamental of shifting your
Yeah.
perspective. It's like dealing with bad times. This is going to the optimization level and the ability to accelerate your growth and your success. I think it all stems back to finding yourself in elevated emotions generally. So
Ooh,
I said at the
okay.
beginning, perception, our belief system, is based on the emotion. And job number one is to get past your own emotional and feeling, like, your feelings that are holding you in a certain way of thinking about
Yes, yes.
everything. So if you can get beyond particularly the negative feelings, but it's also sometimes the positive ones, but that hold you in a place. But most it's the negative ones, and you can find ways to shift your perspective so that you're in a place where you're generally more elevated emotionally. When I say elevated emotionally, it means you're able to feel more happiness, more joy, more love,
Mm,
more awe, more wonder, more amazement, more excitement. We all want these things, right? Just one after
yes.
another. These are great emotions to have. Let's feel excited about crap. Let's walk around and feel excited regardless of what happens. I want to be the person who gets sent to jail for something I didn't do and goes into jail and goes, "This is fucking great. This is awesome. God, I get to experience jail now. I've watched all these programs about it, but now I get to experience it, right? I get to see what it's like. Oh, and do you know what? I've got loads of hours to myself now. I'm going to meditate. I'm going to do all that stuff that meditating that I really wished I'd done. I'm going to use this opportunity to better
Mm,
myself. Like, oh God, I want to be that person who can
mm,
walk into any situation and feel something positive about it. Now, obviously,
yes.
I've given an extreme example. So let's
Yeah.
just go back to everyday life. Let's just wake up in the morning. Job number one is not go to the loo. Job number one is how can I feel happy today, right?
Yep.
Because if you can get yourself into that more joyful, elevated state, and
Okay.
particularly more towards loving life and loving things and
Yes.
loving people,
Yes.
that is the state you need to be in. It's that actually it creates highest performance. It's a
Yes.
state that the
Yes.
body and brain need to be in. It's the state that gets you into a state of being, a way of being, where you start to ignore time, you start to ignore what's going on around you, in just you're not aware of your surroundings, and you're able to get like 300% more focused on what you're doing. It's what sports people get into when they're at their highest peak performance. And honestly, again, I don't want to spiel off too many facts or anything, but there are simple scientific evidence of, like, just the amount of capability, like you get 230% more memory capability or something when you're in that
Mm,
state. You're able to make 130% more connections between things. There's some great
more
facts that you
focus.
can read,
Yeah.
but the truth is, job number one, if you can get yourself, but through shifting your perspective about what's going on and get yourself into a more happier, elevated emotional space, you are automatically going to perform better. Full stop. Done. That's for you.
Yeah.
That's your action. Let alone, I haven't even gone down the road of what other people will feel around you, and therefore they will act differently and potentially get
As a
more out of
result.
life. You'll get more out of
Yeah.
that as well.
Wow. Okay, that's cool. So a way to tap into the superconscious is to make sure that you elevate your emotion first thing every day, because that will impact everything around you,
Mm.
and as a result, better opportunities will come your way. You'll get better ideas. You'll tap into the superconscious mind, particularly through meditation. Other times when, oh yeah, when you're in a relaxed and happy state. And yeah, you're right. It has been measured scientifically because the heart. When you're feeling that sense of love and joy and peace and happiness, it expands beyond, 6 foot away from you. It's like a magnet, and that's why you attract different situations, different people, different results as a result of it, as a result of making sure that you feel fairly good each day. That's amazing. So 1, 2, 3, 4 ways of changing our perspective and perception.
I just
Um, Yeah.
I just want
Any
to
other?
dive one tiny bit further into this final point, because I actually think it's one of the most powerful parts of being able to shift your perception is this ability to find a happier place. Because not only does it give you more powers of performance, but it is what we're all after, right? We are wanting to feel happiness. We've all chosen to run our property businesses because we think it's going to make us happy, or we think it's going to feel satisfying to have all that money. Like it's all driven from this same place. So I guess I'd love to know from you, what do you like? I've got things that I do, but what do you do to try and elevate your emotional state? Like, what do you like? I know some people exercise. Like, what are your primary tools getting yourself into a
Yes.
better place?
Because yeah, I know you're big on meditation. I'm probably not quite so big on meditation. So for me, it's walks in nature is a
Yeah.
massive one. Two, really big one is unbelievably simple, but actually it's something I trained myself into after an episode in 2016, which is to say, whenever I have a negative thought, I catch it and I identify it as being negative and I turn it on its head, just like we mentioned before about how can this benefit me. I turn the negative thought literally around and go, okay, I don't know, oh, I've just lost some money. Oh, what if I was to go, this is a brilliant thing to spend money on, and as a result, I feel, can I turn around that negative thought or feeling into a positive one, literally by flipping it on its head. And I did that for like a month, and then it became automatic. So I built new neural pathways around seeing things as positives, and as a result, I feel that my life has definitely got immeasurably better. So I have trained myself into being a much more positive and happy person and peaceful
That's
person
awesome.
that doesn't hold on to stuff. It's like, this too shall pass. Whenever something sort of negative happens, it's just like, well, it's fine. It's what it is, and it'll pass. And as a result, every day tends to be pretty good, I think, compared to a lot of people I know.
That's awesome,
Yeah.
Dom. So you've talked about the mental tricks that you can do, the practice mentally, and then you're creatively turning what becomes a conscious thought process around something, and you've managed to
Mm,
turn it into a subconscious program that your brain runs
excellent.
at all times,
Yeah.
which is unbelievable. That's an
Yeah.
epic superpower you've created, and that keeps you
It
because
couldn't
because
couldn't
you're
take long.
yeah.
About a
1 month
month.
a habit. That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
I want to take that one step further, because you've started from the mental there, and what I do meditation wise is I start from the physical. Obviously, it's a mental practice as well, but I want to make my body addicted to the chemical hormones
Mm,
of love and happiness. I want my
yes.
body to get accustomed and practiced at releasing those hormones, so much so on a regular basis that it actually wants more of that exact hormone and keeps finding reasons to release it. That is basically one of the reasons
Yeah.
we feel stress a lot. It's because the body
Yeah.
gets used to stress, it gets used to adrenaline,
Addicted to
it
it.
gets
Yeah.
addicted to it, and then it literally comes up with reasons to give you that hit of chemical, because it is just another drug. And we all know how easy it is to get addicted to caffeine or heroin. So I want my body to be addicted to elevated emotions, and as such, I practice them. It's as
Yeah.
simple as that, right? I sit down, I literally close my eyes with the intention to practice elevated emotions with one job in mind. I'm like, the more I practice this, the more habitual, the more automated my subconscious system will be at doing it. And
Yeah.
whatever that takes, it takes different forms every day. There's so many different things you can do. Like, you can remember lovely experiences, go back to your
Yes.
wedding day, just
Yeah.
practicing anything in your life that helps you get that feeling. It could be something that's in the here and now, or something from the past, or it could be just finding the feeling, thinking of your favorite ice cream. I don't know. Just
Yeah.
practicing the feeling and whatever it takes to
Mm.
get it, and then holding that there. And my God, the more you practice it, the more the body wants more of it, and the more it just generates it itself, because it's addicted. It
Yeah.
finds reasons for it, and I'm
Yeah.
I'm just using the body's addictions to my advantage,
There
really.
we go. So it's a body or brain hack, effectively. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's a brilliant thing to do. I love it. Okay, so we've got knowledge, we've got turning questions, asking yourself questions and turning it on its head, catching yourself, meditation, and one more that I've forgotten already. But anyway, hearing it from you like that is really rewarding, and it's a nice practical way to change our perception, change our perspective to get better results.
Such a powerful message in today's podcast, that ultimately the things that seem like the worst things, the most challenging times that we go through, ultimately end up being for our best overall good. And it is so true. And now that I have realised and truly believe that to be the case, now that the challenging times come up, it doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't bother me so much. I can still have a joyful time, still experience flow, even when it's not going exactly how I want it to. So an amazing lesson to take away. This time next week, we are going to be joined by Gul and Nick Hanspel from Glensec Property. And these guys are an incredible duo. These guys are brothers, and they have taken on running their family property investment business since 2018. The combined experience of the directors in this company is over 82 years of experience. They've really been focusing on raising finance over the last 24 months and have so many lessons from that as well. So a fantastic conversation about what they've learned from the various highs and lows of taking on their family investment business and how they're moving forward, and what is better, steady and sustainable or fast and flashy. More on that next week. For now, have a fantastic week ahead.